everybody, and welcome to another edition of Veterans Views and News. We'd like to welcome all the veterans and their families from West Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. We've got a really informative show for you today. Very, very important topic, especially considering where we live in the Southwest. Joining us in the studio is Dr. Christopher Reardon. Dr. Reardon is the Chief of Dermatology at the Carl T. Hayden VA Medical Center in Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's our pleasure. As I mentioned, the Southwest, West Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, that's the market where the show is seen. And, I think it's particularly important that each summer we bring somebody from your occupation, your stature, to come in and talk to us a little bit and bring increased awareness regarding skin cancer. And it's no surprise. It's been a very, very hot summer. And I thought, just let's start off the show with recognizing that skin cancer, is out there. Although I think some of us tend to be oblivious to it and don't do the kind of things that we should do to protect ourselves. And what are the common sense things that people need to be aware of to protect themselves from sun?
Well, it's the ultraviolet light from the sun that causes damage. It basically interacts with the DNA of the cells of the skin and causes the DNA to break. And it leads to mutations and leads to skin cancer. Now, it's important to protect yourself from UV. Sunscreens, SPFs of 30 and above. The sunscreens out there you have to be although I think the majority of them have protection for UVB, which is the more severe burning ray, and UVA, which is what the tanning booths use, that also cause DNA damage. So sunscreen use and liberal use, some people just dab a little bit on. Basically, people say that to cover the exposed areas of the body, it's about a shot glass full of sunscreens, what it takes to cover that area. So people tend to be a little bit stingy, and they should not be. Wide brim hats. A lot of people wear baseball caps, and that's fine for the face, but it doesn't protect the ears. And we see skin cancers and other damage on the tops of the ears because it's not protected. So hat wear use. People don't like wearing long sleeves. Long sleeves will protect the forearms. You see people who are office workers, their skin is almost on their arms is not much different than the rest of their body, but people work outdoors, their arms are severely damaged. And that's where you see precancerous changes and skin cancer arising there. So it's really protect people. They need to think about the sun, and it's the UV light that's causing the problem.
It's interesting you say people need to think about it, and yet to a certain degree, I know I don't really treat it as serious. I think that maybe through the media we're geared to be thinking of lung cancer and maybe other kinds of cancers that we hear about and that we fear so much. Of course, in your line of work, it's probably different, but do you think that most people are really cognizant of the seriousness of skin cancer?
Well, I've been here for 2 years coming from Denver, and I find people here to be much more aware of the sun than they are there. I mean, not to say that they're necessarily doing anything about it, and these are older people, and particularly people who've had a skin cancer are that's hit home for them, and they're much more careful. Now, talk to a teenager about sun damage. Sometimes they don't listen. Although I think it's really a matter of education. There are foundations in the Phoenix area. There's the Shade Foundation that is building coverings for playgrounds, and they're always looking for donations. But along with that, they actually there's a Skin Cancer Institute that goes, and they, along with the Shade Foundation, they have plays and talk about sun protection. They go right into the elementary schools to catch the kids early and tell them how important it is. And you go to places in Australia, kids cannot go out for recess unless they have a hat. And there may be a time in Arizona that may happen.
Do you find, and is it frustrating for you in dealing with the vanity in our culture? Because the reality is, the way I grew up is, in the summertime, you head to the beach, you get a tan, and the more tan you are, the more attractive you are, and I still think that's probably a big part of our culture, particularly amongst the young. So it's not only are you combating it person by person, but the culture in general tells people, tanning booths and whatnot, that you're more beautiful, that you're more attractive, and you look younger with a suntan. And yet, what I'm hearing is they're really hurting themselves.
Yeah, it's kind of like, fry now, pay later. Fortunately, there are the self-tanning, there's the spray tan booths that people can go in and get the color that they want. Now, however, and there's the self-tanning products that are over the counter. All they are dyes. They add color to the skin, but they don't protect you from UV. It's just a color. So some people think that they get a tan from these other products, that they can go hang out in the sun, when the fact of the matter is they're not protected. They still need to put on a sunscreen. So there are other alternatives than to tanning booths. I mean, the Academy of Dermatology is very much opposed to tanning booths. That UVA irradiation causes wrinkling and causes skin cancer. And I have personally seen people, when I was at the University of Colorado, tanning booth users coming in with melanoma. So it's a real problem, and particularly when you're seeing younger people are actually more sensitive to getting DNA damage than older people. I mean, they have much more time. You hit them at an early age. 20 years from now, you're going to see something while they're still fairly young. There's legislation in a lot of states to prevent minors from using the tanning booths, because it's the teenagers that the most common users of tanning booths.
And again, we're dealing with that culture, that media culture, that really goes to the vanity issue, and it puts them in jeopardy. As far as the pool or the beach, is there any safe tanning?
No.
There's no safe tanning.
There's no safe tanning.
So, I mean, even 15 minutes early in the morning or a half hour later in the day, it's still damaging the skin.
Basically, I mean, you're getting UV. You're getting tanning in response to UV. Your skin sees, I'm getting hit with UV. Okay. I need to make more pigment to protect myself from it. Actually. So
the brown is just pigment building up some type of defense mechanism.
Right. Well, actually, what happens is the melanocytes, or the pigment cells, they actually pump a product called melanin into the skin cells, which are called keratinocytes, and that melanin forms a cap over the nucleus, protecting the DNA. That's the whole point of it. Is and people of darker skin have more of it, or bigger globules protecting their DNA. So So it's a built-in sunscreen, but Caucasians don't have very much. They can only their skin was designed to be in Scotland, not in Arizona, so they don't have very much protection of their DNA. So the UV light can go in there and damage the DNA, and then cause the cell to become a cancer.
So even the lotions that are rated 30 and above, there's still no safe tanning.
There's still no safe tanning. With sunscreens, you should apply them 30 minutes before you go outside. Otherwise, you put them on, you go outside, you sweat it off immediately. Give it some time to bind the skin. But at lunchtime, reapply it. If you're going to be outdoors all day, you need to apply it a couple additional times.
How, in relationship to other forms of cancer, how common is skin cancer? I know that we spend an awful lot of time telling people don't smoke because you might get lung cancer, but I wonder in terms of odds, the likelihood, is one more apt to get skin cancer than some other form of cancer? How common is it?
People in the United States have a 1 in 5 chance of getting skin cancer at some point in their lifetime. A million skin cancers will be diagnosed in
1
the
in
U.S.
5 people.
1 in 5.
And we're not 1 in 5,000 or 1 in 5 million. We're talking 1 in 5.
Now, 1 in 5, and that's a national average. Now, if you look at the statistics in Australia, and the Arizona to Phoenix-Tucson corridor is very much compared to what people are seeing in Australia, where the chance for a man to get skin cancer is 1 in 3, and for women it's 1 in 4.
Now,
at one point in their lifetime.
Is it always equate that, according to gender, men are going to be more predisposed than women?
Well, men will be outside. If they're like roofers, they may take their shirts off, when it's hot, and women won't do.
So the exposure, maybe statistically, is greater amongst men than women.
Right.
I mean, I was just wondering if there was just something within our DNA. I mean, if you had say a study where you had men and women equally exposed to the same UV or sunlight, the gender wouldn't come into play then, would it?
I don't think so. What you see with women is they get more skin cancers on their legs because they're wearing skirts.
Okay.
But in Arizona, when a lot of people are wearing shorts,
Yeah.
that makes I see a lot of men in shorts, and it may be in Arizona. If you really look at the statistics, it may be actually very similar that more men may be getting cancer on their legs than elsewhere in the country.
How serious is skin cancer? I mean, how damaging can it be if you don't pay attention to it?
All the cancers, when you have malignancy, it means you have a malignant cell that grows without control. It'll just keep on growing, and not stopping. So if you don't catch these things early, they just get bigger. Now, basal cell carcinomas, there are several types of skin cancer that we see. Basal cell carcinomas, squamous cell carcinomas, and melanoma. There's a variant of squamous cell carcinomas called keratoacanthomas, which are very fast growing squamous cell type of cancers. Now, basal cell carcinomas are the most common, if you talk about cancer, it's the most common cancer in the world. So, of course, then of skin cancers, it's the most common cancer. Squamous cell carcinomas come next, and melanomas are less. So basal cell carcinomas, and they look different. Basal cell carcinomas, what they mean by the basal cell, it's the very bottom layer of the epidermis, and it's like cornea. So when those cells grow, they have a translucent appearance to them because they're like the cornea of the eye. Squamous cell carcinomas are derived from a higher part of the skin. They have more sort of proteins. That's why your skin doesn't look translucent. There's things called keratins, and there's a lot of different types. But the squamous cell carcinoma have a certain keratin, so they look solid. You can't look into them like the basal cell carcinomas. And of course, the melanomas, for the most part, are brown, although there are varieties that can be purple. There are ones that have no pigment at all. So they're very different than what we see.
The thing that I'm wondering right now, because I want to share this, I asked you earlier about some marks, age marks or liver spots or whatever they're called, but let's kind of just basically kind of let people know what they can be on the lookout for. I know as I get older, I'm getting skin tags, and I'll get a mole or this and that, and and every once in a while I wonder if that's skin cancer, and we don't want to frighten people, but what should people be on the lookout for?
Well, being that skin cancers are not normal skin, our skin, our epidermis and dermis are like two egg crate cartons stuck together. That's why you can push on your skin. Well, the skin cancers don't have that. So they break down, or they grow too fast, so they can't get enough blood supply, so they break down. So you have basically something that's not healing. You have a sore that just doesn't go away. It's like months go by, and this thing doesn't heal. It may be also increasing in size. So when you're seeing something that might be, and a lot of these cancers, the basal cell carcinomas tend to be reddish. The squamous cell carcinomas tend to be sort of pink, but again, you can't see through them. So basically, there are things that are slowly getting bigger, with time, and a lot of times their center part breaks down. What the cancer cells do is they make certain factors that cause blood vessels to grow in. It's like, come in and feed me, but they don't do it very well. In the very center, the blood vessels may not get there, and so basically the tumor dies. So you have this sore that may be developing. Again, also because it's not normal skin, a little stretch or something may cause these things to sort of break down. So it's not things that are not healing for months and months and months.
So we don't need to fear a mole. If we get a mole, we don't need to necessarily fear it.
Good moles, which we call nevi, things that are benign tend to be round, symmetric. Things that we worry about, pigment cells, are they melanomas? We actually, and so what happens with those is they grow in a disorganized manner. Now sometimes you don't see that by eye. I actually have a device called dermatoscope that allows me to look inside moles, and they'll tell me that you can have a normal looking mole, but you look in there and the melanocytes are growing in a disorganized fashion. You go, that's a cancer. It's not symmetric in there. It's doing some strange things, and those are the things that we biopsy. So but regular nevi, regular moles, are very common, and they don't do anything.
Is there, would the more exposed areas be less or be more likely to like, say for men, we wear shirts and things like this. Would it be more on our legs, on our arms, on our wrists, things like this, that we'd want to be paying attention to?
Yes. The areas that are getting the sunlight, the UV,
right.
Again, the UV damage, are the areas that you want to protect.
Now, well, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to do a private little consult right now. What are these things? I mean, people say they call them age spots, liver spots. When you say liver, I think, well, was something wrong in my liver? But what's going on?
Well, the brown spots that people have referred to as liver spots are called lentigos or lentiginous, and they're sun-induced freckles. But it indicates that you're getting a lot of sun.
Right.
Now, they can, although it doesn't happen very often, but they can transform too. So, with a brown spot that may be developing a black spot within it, that's of the sun-induced freckles. Those are the things that people should look out for. Are there black areas developing?
How big would they be?
They can be start off as a pinpoint, and then start getting bigger.
Bigger and bigger. One of the things as I was preparing for the show and I was reading about skin cancer, I had no idea how serious it was in relationship to excising these lesions, and how painful it can be, how deep, sometimes it can go, and how disfiguring it can be. And one of the reasons we were excited to have you on the show, because we wanted to get this information out throughout our service area, is you have pioneered, and the dermatology department at Carl T. Hayden in Phoenix has pioneered a new non-invasive surgical technique. In fact, this is really cool stuff, and I'm sure Carl T. Hayden and all of VA is proud. The very first facility in the United States of America to receive FDA approval to do this non-invasive surgical technique, you're doing it. And you're doing it at Carl T. Hayden. Tell us about it, because in speaking of excising and pain, recovery, and also potential disfigurement, you guys are doing some amazing things.
Well, yeah, in addition to excising a cancer, one of the things that dermatologists do routinely, just comparing this instrument to what the kind of standard has been, is kind of a scrape and burn technique. You have electrocautery, you burn it and you basically scrape out the lesion and there's smoke, and as you imagine, you're burning the skin.
So you get the smell of burning skin.
You do.
You got it all.
You got it all. Now, a veteran in Phoenix has been working for a long time to create this device called thermosurgery. Now, what this does, it generates a radio frequency. In some ways, as I'll be demonstrating, it's you're holding a pen with a tip that's almost like a microwave. You place it on the skin, and it basically heats the skin. Now, we're not burning the skin. We're heating the skin up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, why that works is like when you have a fever, you have all these mechanisms and all the cells in your body to protect everything, to hold things in place so things don't fall apart when your temperature goes up. Now we're basically heating the skin beyond fever temperatures, and those protective mechanisms fall apart. They can't, and so what happens when the tumor cells recognize I can't repair the damage that's happening from the heat, they die, and it's a process called apoptosis, which means the cells don't break apart, but they shrink down. Our old technique, when you're burning them, things are falling apart, which can cause more inflammation, but apoptosis, the cells shrink and then are engulfed by little phagocytic cells and kind of taken away.
So may I assume that recovery and pain is going to be less intense involving this procedure than burning and scraping?
You still need to numb the skin because you're just heating it up. But since you're not burning the skin and you're just heating it up, the cosmetic results are better, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But the treatment itself is only a 30-second treatment.
Well, let's see it. We got about 4 minutes left in the segment, and I want to give all the viewers a chance to get a real feel for this. And this is exciting stuff. Again, we're very, very proud of Dr. Reard and his staff and everything they're doing at Carl T. Hayden, because this is going to help just so many people. We're very, very excited about it.
We've had some of our veterans say this treatment is like a walk in the park.
Compared to what they've been going through.
What they've been going
Isn't that
through.
amazing? That's just so great. That's great.
So we basically, again, the radio frequency is generated between these two prongs. There are thermistors at the end that measure the temperature of the skin. So when it gets to 120 degrees, this thing will register as 50, because this is all in Celsius. Is that once it gets to temperature, then it just puts in enough energy to keep it there for 30 seconds. So if this was like a skin cancer, I would place it down flat. You may hear there's a...
See, it's buzzing. It's operating right now. You can hear it.
There's a tone. And when it gets up to temperature, and so often I don't have to even look at the instrument. When it gets up to temperature, then it'll start to give 2-second beeps.
So that tone's getting higher and higher.
Okay, here we are. We're at temperature.
That's 120 degrees?
It's 120 degrees. So this heat's about 3 millimeters down. So it's, again, every 2-second beeps, the thermistors are telling
so
we're at
it's like
temperature.
Giving a treatment, a dosage, every one of those beeps.
Well, it's just basically telling me how that it's running. And there's going to be a long beep when 30 seconds, there are 30 seconds. The light goes on, we're basically done.
Treatment's done.
We can go for a minute, but 30 seconds is just fine.
Now, what are you going to do? You're going to apply a Band-Aid or lotion or something over this, and then about how much time for that area to heal?
We'll put a Band-Aid on it. We don't have to do anything special. We're finding that the healing time is faster than the technique where we burn and scrape the skin. It still takes it takes weeks, but but the amount of time is less than the scrape and burn.
Sure,
technique.
you know, and I think that's the thing is, you know, people who have to go through procedure after procedure, you know, sometimes it's not only, you know, you're going through it physically, but, you know, the pain and the healing process can wear you down psychologically too, you know, and so, you know, this type of relief to be able to offer somebody and the kind of hope. Now, in terms of effectiveness, how is it we got about 1 minute, and you know, how is it as effective, say, than the other techniques?
Well, to get FDA approval, a study had to be done, and basically showed it's just as effective as our scrape and burn technique. You get like a 95% cure. You know, no treatment is 100%. There's always those outliers out there, but you're talking about 95%.
Boy, you know, you take those kind of odds any day, you know, and I'm sure that not everybody is eligible, and that there's, you know, criteria and whatnot. You know, if people wanted to go online and learn more, you know, could they look up you know, a website or anything like this, or
the company has a website. This is you know, if they put in thermal surgery, that will come up.
So if you want to just do an internet search, you could do skin cancer, thermosurgery for skin cancer. You can learn more about Dr. Reardon and his staff and whatnot. Do you see the company, the manufacturer, and the FDA, you know, going to try to launch this and make a greater availability to people?
Well, that's the plan. You know, it's been FDA approved for basal cell carcinomas. We plan to do a study to get it approved for squamous cell carcinomas as well.
Well, congratulations on your work.
Thank
Everybody
you.
knows I like to end each show with one final thought. Our freedom comes at a great, great price. Next time you meet a vet, all you got to do is say thanks. Until next time, this is Frank Cimarelli saying, see you on the next episode of Veterans Views and News.
Hi, I'm John Elway, asking all veterans to get off the bench and back in the game. Your local VA's MOVE program will show you how to eat healthy, be active, and get fit for life. For more information, talk to your local VA healthcare team.